Hi, everybody.
Frank wants to say hi. Sorry about that.
Hi, Frank.
So good evening, everyone. With the time being 6:00 p.m. on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order. As a reminder, just a little over a year ago, on March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law to enable public bodies to carry out their responsibilities while adhering to public health recommendations regarding social distancing. The executive order relieves public bodies from the requirement in the open meeting law that meetings be conducted in a public place that's open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provisions to ensure the public's access to the deliberations through adequate alternative means. In this case, we're utilizing Zoom and have listed information for joining the meeting on the school district website. As another reminder, this meeting is being recorded both video and audio and will be posted on the school district website. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 12th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
They were March 9th.
Is that not what I said?
Said 12th.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where that came from. Thank you. So the motion would be to approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Dr. Gogan.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and got to enjoy a little bit of this beautiful day outside in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to start my report with a personnel update. I'd like to let you know that we have hired Jessica Adams as a paraprofessional at Park Avenue and Caitlin Hughes as a paraprofessional at Park Avenue and Ford Jamalowitz as a lunch monitor at Park Avenue. I'm also pleased to let you know that I have hired Bridget Houston and Jenna Goulin as the interim co-directors for the adult education program. We are splitting that position. One is going to be the co-director of the curriculum and instruction, and one is going to be the co-director of operations and IET. We still have the guidance of Terry Gilardi. She will serve as a program evaluator and coach between now and the end of the year. The Department of Education is in full support of our co-leadership model. I just got off a Google Meets with the entire adult education staff where I introduced Jenna and Bridget, and they rolled out some very clear goals and objectives between now and the end of the year with their staff. And they will be moving forward with bringing their teachers back on site and beefing up the adult education program. I'm very excited about that for them. I'm also very excited to let you know that Mrs. Perangeli, I've extended her contract for another 3 years, starting July 1st. There will be a title change for her in her role as business and finance manager. I will be moving her to the assistant superintendent for business and finance. I'm also pleased to let you know that Mrs. Kathleen Barris has signed another 3-year extension. She is our Director of Student Services Support. Directors of Student Support Services, pardon me, and she has signed another 3-year contract, and I'm very pleased they will be sticking around on my team for years to come. Now for an update on return to in-person learning. I would be remiss if I didn't walk us down memory lane just a little bit tonight. It's been a year of dealing with COVID. And I want to state one more time that I think the Webster Public Schools and the employees of the Webster Public Schools have done a fabulous job, including students, staff, and families. We were one of the first districts to submit our 3-school model plan way back last July. That was approved pretty quickly. We were one of the first districts around to have a collaborative relationship with our unions and have a memorandum of understanding passed before kids step foot in our school. We had an incredible cafeteria staff who set up food distribution centers, not just at our schools, but we had them set up across town at the Head Start neighborhood. We also were one of the first schools to bring in some of our special education students over the last summer for summer school. We started our school year with all of our teachers on site and some of our high-risk students on site. And we started our school year with the same model that we have now, a synchronous learning model. Not a lot of districts can say that. We've provided a very stable and consistent programming. And again, I want to give a shout out to everyone that works in Webster for the team efforts that we've put forward. We now have different mandates coming from the Department of Education, and we, in essence, will be running multiple plans at once. So on April 5th, the Park Avenue Elementary School will open its doors for in-person learning for students Monday through Friday. And while that's happening, Bartlett and Webster Middle School will still be in a hybrid model. At first glance, this may just appear easy. It's not. To lend some insight, I'm going to just tell you about some of the guidelines and maneuvering pieces. The safety guidelines of even 3 feet in the classrooms does limit the number of students that can be in a classroom at any one time. And right now we're focusing on Park Avenue School. We have a 3 feet distance in the classrooms, but as you know, we have to keep a 6 feet distancing for around each teacher's desk and for any time students are eating. So this safety mandate of having 6 feet apart is probably the biggest challenge that we're facing. At first glance, we thought we might be able to accommodate everyone for eating in the cafeteria at Park Avenue Elementary School. We have had to empty the cafeteria because it was servicing as a music room, a cafeteria, and a teacher's lounge for them to eat 6 feet apart. Our custodians have been working very hard and they're emptying that out. And the music room is going back into a classroom, and the teachers' eating area is going into the Park Avenue Library. We now can fit about 100 students with certain types of tables that we have on order with the 6 feet distancing. Lunchtime isn't the biggest problem. It's breakfast in the classroom that will be the biggest problem to solve. And I think we have solved the problem, but not without some bumps. We originally thought we could put some desks in the hallway and have half the kids leave a classroom at breakfast time and go out into the hallway and sit down and eat. But we are not allowed to put any desks or tables in the hallway due to fire code. So we are making a breakfast area in the gymnasium. We're in the process of ordering pods, storage pods, and we have movers coming in to empty out the half of the gym that has served as a storage unit. And we will be setting up the gymnasium with little old-fashioned tabletop TV tables for the students. And we'll be getting hula hoops for the students to sit inside, and they will have the 6 feet spacing. So we're being pretty creative so that we can spread some students. Half the kids can stay in the classroom for eating, and then half for breakfast can go in the cafeteria, half can go in the gymnasium. With these shifts of in-person learning, we are also going to make some other staffing adjustments that are important for you to know. One of those staffing adjustments is increasing a teacher at grade 1 so that we can service all of our kids that want to come in and still have a remote academy. We did not have a remote academy at grade 3, so we need to hire a long-term sub for that as well, so that we can have a remote academy for grade 3. And we will also have to increase our cafeteria staff and our lunch monitors at Park Avenue. And increase the hours for our paraprofessionals and our ABAs. As you may or may not remember, our paraprofessionals did not work on Fridays. With students coming in, they will be working, and our ABAs only worked half a day. All of these moving pieces, I think I want to give a shout out to our administrators and our central office team. Everyone's kind of brainstorming and trying to figure out these things. We will be ready for April 5th for in-person learning, but it's not as easy as some people may think. We are trying our best not to move students, but due to the class sizes and the number of kids that are able to fit in a classroom, there are some adjustments being made, and some adjustments will be made. Any questions on that before I share some more information?
For the chair, Dr. Gogan, what percentage of students are choosing to come in person?
Well, I don't have the percentage off the top of my head, but we do have enough students to have a remote academy at each grade level. So anywhere from 20 to 40 in each grade level. I think Mrs. Parmley is on here. She may be able to, or Mrs. Zablocki, have the exact numbers. I don't have them, but there is still a fair amount of people who want remote learning, such that we have to create another classroom at grade 1 to accommodate students coming in for in-person learning.
So if I can speak, Dr. Gogan, and I know Mrs. Zablocki is on also, I believe we have a full class size or close to it at every grade level, grades 1, 2, 3, and 4, who will remain remote, who are opting to remote.
So that indicates that the majority of students are choosing in person.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
I'm surprised. I didn't know if it would be a different percentage. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so one of the hot topic questions that I've been asking the Department of Education is what they will allow us to do after April 5th in cases when we do not have enough staff on board. Right now, we have been calling a remote learning day, and that has not happened very frequently in our district. It's happened a couple times at the middle school, but we have a clear plan. If there's not enough staff and we can't keep the kids safe with the safety guidelines, we have had to call a remote day. After April 5th for the elementary school, we will not be able to do that because remote learning will not count for time on learning. The only way remote learning counts right now is if parents have chosen that. So I've been working very closely with the Department of Education and had a commissioner's call today. While it has not come out publicly, if we do face that kind of situation, as the superintendent, I will be tasked with calling a Department of Education contact person at 5:30 in the morning to ask their permission to call a remote learning day. So I believe they will allow us to do that, but they have not put that in writing. We will hope that it doesn't happen. And I know that Mrs. Parmley and her staff do their very best to manage and move staffing around to cover students with all the safety distancing. Another question that's been out there is what's going to happen to our half-day Fridays. And contrary to what DESE had first suggested, I did apply for a waiver as they had first suggested. And then I was told that I didn't need a waiver if we met the time on learning standards for the elementary and the middle school, which we do. However, after much thought and discussion with the district leadership team, we feel it's best to gradually come back to full day Fridays for several reasons. We definitely know there will be a learning loss, and there is a learning loss of this past year for students nationwide. We are concerned that if we continue our half-day Fridays while having a full-day Friday for in-person learning at the high school, that some students may not have proper supervision at home. Busing is another reason. We would have to do a midday run while we would then have to do another run at the high school. And we want to make sure that our students are eating. So this is the following plan that we will be putting into place. The plan is to keep the half-day Fridays for the elementary and the middle school through May 7th. May 7th is a PD half-day anyhow, and start full-day Fridays district-wide on May 14th. We are aiming to start the middle school and high school to move back to full-day learning for April 28th together for their full-day return on the 28th, and then have them also start for full-day Fridays on May 14th. I'm sorry for the confusion. Any questions on that? Should I state it again? Because it was a little confusing.
I think I understand. Anyone else
Okay.
have any confusion about that plan? It sounds good to me.
Okay. And that's our update on in-person return. I'm gonna just move on very briefly, just to let you know that we have posted for spring sports, boys and girls track, varsity baseball and softball, JV baseball and softball, middle school baseball and softball, boys and girls tennis, middle school boys and track, and middle school Real Madrid soccer. All the safety guidelines are in your school committee packet. And I want to give a shout out to Coach Paranto for his due diligence during this very trying year of making sure that the safety protocols are followed. And a shout out to the students who are participating in sports and doing their best to follow all of these new and strange guidelines, like wearing a mask while you play football. Very different, but the kids are doing a great job. Any questions on sports? Okay. I have a lot of other updates. We've been pretty busy. I want to give a congratulations to Bartlett High School, Mr. Fran Thomas, for his hard work on writing the Innovative Pathway grants. I'm pleased to let you know that Bartlett High School has been designated and given the appointment for a 5-year performance contract for being an innovative pathway school. And the two pathways are health care and social assistance and manufacturing. There was a lot of work to that, and Mr. Thomas, you did a really good job on that, and I want to give you a shout out and to your team. This positions us very well as we continue to work on the Bartlett High School project. In other updates, I did share with you the Massachusetts Association of Superintendents presented a position paper to the Board of Education and Commissioner Riley, asking and requesting them to cancel MCAS and access testing this year. I did share that letter with you. We're asking, superintendents are asking for districts to rely on their local assessments to diagnose learning gaps this year. We really feel that time is valuable, and there's a lot of time with testing and MCAS. We'd much prefer spend that time with teaching our students and with explicit teaching and closing gaps. On my call this afternoon with the commissioner, it doesn't seem likely that there are going to be any changes with that, but I will let you know if there are. The COVID dashboards are for the last 2 weeks are in your packet, and there is an error in one of my school committee notes. There's a PDF form and a Word form. There was only one positive case the week ending March 16th, not 4. And this week there were 5 positive cases in our district. We had professional development days on March 18th and 19th. The grids are in your packet. Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School continued their work with Pbis consultant, Elaine Gumlaw, on using explicit learning, target objectives, SEI strategies, and summarizers to ensure student engagement. Our Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School counselors continued their work with Noelle Foy on decreasing anxiety in students and becoming more aware on how executive functioning skills impact student success. Mrs. Kathleen Barris led several workshops on school-to-school, grade-to-grade transitions and special education compliance pitfalls. And Park Avenue ILT members led grade level meetings on to look at multiple measures of student success assessment data to discover what learning losses they deemed at each grade level and to put plans of action in place between now and the rest of the year. They were very busy days and productive, I would say. The Bartlett High School educational visioning work is still going on. We have almost our completed final first draft ready. I'm hoping to share that with you at the next school committee meeting. It's about 43 pages long and pretty detailed. But as we move along the process, I know that it will get tweaked and edited and improve along the way. And just as a little bit of a teaser for anybody who's listening, some of the things that we're looking forward to at Bartlett High School are pretty exciting. Along with the innovative pathways, we're hoping to have an engineering lab, a media lab with a maker space, and a simulated healthcare lab. So that our students at Bartlett High School have areas where they can really be creative and explore some of these really cool and useful pathways that we're trying to put in place. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Our after-school programming, Bartlett and Webster Middle School has been pushed back. We have completely taken the Saturday programming off the docket right now with the good weather coming and people needing to be outside after such a long year. That was not an avenue that people wanted to continue to go down. So we're hoping that our after-school programming for students in need of additional supports starts next week. I know our counselors are putting together some outreach programming, and the middle school is looking at running a fitness and friends group after school, a BU girls group, yoga, and the high school is looking at a walk and talk counseling group. And we've had a lot of parent guardian outreach events popping up. The Webster Middle School is hosting a middle school child March 25th at 6 o'clock. The CPAC meeting is happening March 25th at 6:30. That is a parent orientation for our tiered focus monitoring review. And the joint Title I and special education meeting, mark your dates, is April 6th at 1 p.m. And Mr. Sweeney is starting a parent group on every Monday from 2:25 to 3:25. That's a virtual meeting over at the middle school, and that is starting next week. We're hoping that families participate and take advantage of these opportunities. In an effort to continue our wonderful program that we started a couple years ago, the ST Math program over at Park Avenue Elementary School. If you remember, it's a nonverbal mathematics supplemental program. We have it this year for free for grades 5 and 6, but we are completing the part 2 of the grant that will be submitted this week. Mrs. Peterson and I have been working on that. We would love to get this 3-year grant to continue this program. The organization that funds this grant is called the 1-8 organization, just so happens to be the same organization that funds Project Lead the Way. So it's a good organization for Webster to get on the radar screen. We are already on the radar screen with the ST Math grant that we did receive from them. for Park Avenue. And now that we have the Project Lead the Way grant at the high school, we're hoping that we get this ST Math grant. With this grant, it's a 3-year grant. We would be obligated to pay the $3,500 annual fee each year, which we would do with our LEA funds. So it's a very good organization. They believe in hands-on learning and creative ways to reach kids and keep them engaged. So I'm excited about that. And last but not least, it's hard to believe that it's almost April and DESE just released the new graduation requirements, which I think will be pretty easy for us to follow, seeing how we were, again, one of the first schools to have an outdoor graduation last year during the midst of COVID. I think their safety guidelines are pretty clear, and we'll be able to proceed as we have done in the past. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Gogan. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Yes, through the chair.
Yes, Mrs. Millett?
I have a question and a comment. My first question though is the district providing any opportunities for teachers to get their COVID vaccination, or are they on their own?
We've been sending out, as we get them from the Board of Health, the opening seats, or seats, if you will call them, over at the Harrington Hospital Southbridge site. And I know that our school nurses have been working with the staff at each of the school to help them get appointments. When we, I think we've also sent out things that the Department of Education has sent to us. If you are a veteran and you want to get on a list, we've been able to provide people those avenues. With regards to time off, we have not been able to do that simply because staffing shortages are still a concern. But if people do go and get their appointments, they usually take their own time, and then hopefully they're not sick. But what we are seeing that some people do get sick after getting their shots. So we're working with our staff to make sure that they can get them if they want them, and providing them the links that we have. I do believe anytime the Board of Health gets an announcement that there's an open slots, she passes it along to us and we pass it along to the staff.
My other is a comment about, I think the staff needs some kind of outreach because they are physically and mentally exhausted from this trying year. And I think we need to think of our students, absolutely. But I think we also have to think of some way to reach out to our staff and what we can do for them during this trying period.
It has been a trying year, Mrs. Millett, and I do, on behalf of the principals and my central office staff, we've been trying our very best to make sure that staff are heard, that we've taken the individual time that we need to talk to different people about different types of things that they're facing, and try to accommodate people the best we can, and that's why I keep repeating, and I have been repeating for the last year, the success in Webster is due to the staff. It's due to everybody pitching in and putting their best foot forward. And I agree with you. I know that the principals find different ways in the schools to celebrate the staff, whether it's having pies on Pie Day for them and their students, or sending a special message, or giving them a little bit of extra time, or canceling a faculty meeting. I think those things have been done, and they'll continue to do those small little things to make people feel valued and appreciated. But I hear what you're saying. It has been a trying year for everyone.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Gogan. The next item on the agenda is the business manager's report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening, thank you. I will be brief tonight, not too much on my report. The first item is building committee update. We did have a meeting this past Thursday, March 18th, with the building committee. A big part of the committee was reviewing existing conditions. The architect spent some time going through the report and talking about the findings at Bartlett High School and the work that may be involved, and gave some examples of what if we had to bring the walls up to code and add insulation, and how when you touch one thing it affects another. So they reviewed that in some detail during the meeting. They also came in on Friday morning, the architect and one of the main engineers, Vince from Flansburgh, and reviewed a draft. It's not complete yet, but a draft binder of about 90 pages plus of items from the high school, that pictures or things that need to prepare and what they can do for the high school. So we reviewed that in length. And they're going to continue that work. It's just a draft. They continue to add more detail and update, because that's going to impact how the project moves forward and how they present options. So it has been very busy and active, but it's an exciting time. I enjoy listening and being part of those discussions, and having been through 2 projects, it's exciting to know that, you know, we're on a path, and you can start to really see things come together through these meetings. So it's a good meeting, and that's about it. I think we are scheduled to have another one on April 1st, because we do have a mid-April submission to the MSBA of the educational plan that Dr. Gogan's talking about that. And that works in conjunction with the space template that they're providing for us. So we've got to take our programming and coordinate that with this space template that helps drive the design for the high school. And again, this is just early on. This is a draft. We submit to the MSBA, and they provide feedback, and then we take another look, and we sit back down and we make adjustments, and then we go back to the MSBA. So we're going to be doing this a few times right up through the middle of August. Are there any questions about that? No. Next on the agenda is other updates, just a couple of things. The telephone project that was going on at the Webster Middle School has been completed over the 2 PD days, Thursday and Friday of last week. We were able to install all the phones and assign all the extensions at the middle school. So it'll make life, I hope, a lot easier for the teachers over there. Now, when you call, you can leave messages. It goes right to their email. There's an app that they can put on their phone. So if they need to make calls to families, they can use their cell phone, the app, and it looks like it's coming right from the school. So it's not, you know, displaying their private number or anything like that. So it's a good system. It's also connected. It's the same system that we use here and at the high school. So it's extension dialing. It does classroom 911. So if there was ever a 911, they would know what classroom it goes right to. So it's a good system, and we're excited that project is done. And then we've also been busy, like Dr. Gogan said, in getting ready and making all these adjustments as we're returning to full in person at the elementary. It's been really busy in the business office trying to coordinate that move. And making sure that we have all our ducks in a row. We've got a lot of space. So you think we've got a great building, a 5-year building at Park Ave, going on 6, I believe, which, you know, you would think you would have a lot of space, but we quickly ran out of space and are emptying furniture and providing storage and hiring movers to come in to assist with the move, because we have half a gymnasium full of tables and half tables and risers and things that we cannot utilize. So we've been busy doing that. And then we've also been busy ordering and making sure we're doing our due diligence. And, you know, our thought behind all of this has been, what can we purchase and use? We don't want to buy things that we're not going to get future use out of, and that we're just going to put in storage when we're done. So all of the purchases that we've made, the hula hoops, the tray tables, the tables that we're purchasing for the cafeteria, all of those items can be reused in our schools with our students and for PD days or events. We can utilize all of that. So it's been a lot of work, and it's good work, and I'd like to take credit for doing it all. I'm not. It's Cheryl Spink, my assistant, who is doing a lot of the searching on Pbis on the state site, which is not the most user-friendly, but she is an expert now. She could teach it. So, you know, I think she deserves a big thank you from me for all of her efforts and all the time that she spends looking and searching and finding the best prices and making sure that, you know, we're procuring things in the appropriate manner. So we're working on that. And then the final thing that we've been busy doing is working on our transportation. I've been working with AAA to making sure that we are updating the buses. I've been getting lists from Park Ave. We've been working together every day. We have communications back and forth about students being added, students coming off. I'm notifying transportation because we still believe that it's important that we're providing bus passes and we're having an idea what kids are riding the bus, because there's still going to be issues. We know there's still going to be issues, and we know there's going to be contact tracing. So we want to make sure we're prepared for that. If you remember, the state has lifted the guidelines for busing elementary kids. So we're allowed to do full capacity. We just have to keep our windows and roof vents open. And the weather's getting warmer and nicer, so it's a little easier to do that. And we don't have as many grumpy kids saying it's cold on the bus. So we're happy about that. Are there any questions for any of that? No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli. Certainly sounds like there's a lot going on. Thank you for your update. The next item on the agenda is the principal's report. Joining us tonight is Fran Thomas, the principal of Bartlett High School. Good evening, Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, Chair Siddiqui. I couldn't find my unmute button there for a second. How are you this evening?
No, it's my turn to not be able to get the unmute. Very good, thank you.
Okay. I wanted to update the committee on some of the things that have been going on at the high school. I know Viv will probably do something similar from a student perspective a little bit later on. One of the things that we were able to do this year that we weren't last year was hold a parent information night for the 8th graders. I want to thank Heidi and her staff at the middle school for pushing that out through their class dojo. We also mailed letters to each 8th grade family announcing this. We're going to follow that up on April 5th with a separate meeting about the Nichols Leadership Academy. And then later on in the spring, we'll be doing a launch for our innovation pathways. So one of the things that we found that's kind of interesting as we're processing the returns of students who are going to remain remote or come in for all 5 days, is there are a lot of freshmen who will remain remote who have never set foot inside Bartlett High. So we're going to have to set some tours up this summer, not only for the incoming freshmen, but for the current freshmen who will be rising sophomores who have never been inside the school. So I'm looking forward to that. Setting up those tours, I think it's a great way for kids to feel comfortable before they actually start coming into school. Second thing I'd like to talk to you about is our Pbis committee. As you know, students returning to school face a number of challenges, not the least of which for high school kids is all of a sudden there are rules again about cell phones and hats and hoods, and then you add in the new safety protocols. It's very difficult for kids who are hanging around, you know, every day outside of school to suddenly have to socially distance themselves when they're in school. So rather than approach it simply from a punitive standpoint, the PBIS thought that we would try to do some kind of cajoling and rewarding these areas. So the staff took a survey and indicated, what their concerns were. So the first area that we recognized was social distancing. So each staff member had a number of tickets in a safety cup and tongue to hand out the tickets to the students. So it was just random. If you saw someone complying with that 6-foot distance, you gave them a ticket. We had some drawings, and then at the end of the month, we had an ice cream social. The ice cream was donated by Bogies and served to the students and staff by the PBIS team. The February-March theme, moving on, was called Cool to Comply. And again, it's something like, kids are used to having their cell phones out, they, from a remote setting, and then over the summer, and hats and hoods and things like that. When we first came back, we had a lot of windows open, so it was cold. So we're doing the same thing, trying to give out tickets and kind of reward those kids, and just to acknowledge the kids that are doing the right thing. We're also starting our Students of the Month. We're recognizing both students who are in school and students who are remote. We're working hard and being conscientious students. And we're going to continue this theme. The faculty, we vote on a theme, and we will roll that out for April and probably May, and follow a similar route of recognizing students who follow that, and then rewarding everyone at the end of the month. Are there any questions on anything I've said so far? Okay. Dr. Gogan alluded to the innovation pathways, so I won't take up a lot of time on that, but there's just some statistics that I'd like to share with you. There were 22 pathways awarded this year. In 2018, there were 32. In 2019, there were 29. Last year, we had 38. This year, there were only 22. The number of schools getting this designation in 2018 were 12. 2019 were 14. Last year, there were 16. This year, there were only 7. And of the 7 schools, there were only 2 schools that got 2 pathways, us and Chelmsford High. And as you know, Chelmsford High has a lot more students than we do. So it's a great accomplishment for the district to be able to get this designation, especially with a school of our size, to get 2 pathways. And I think it's reflective of the industry partners who know that they have jobs that they can't fill and need us to kind of fill in that pipeline and get graduates who are going to be prepared to go immediately into the workforce. One of the interesting statistics about our graduates is about 25% indicate that they're going directly into the workforce. So that's significantly higher than the average high school. So we want to make sure that we're preparing them to go into the workforce in an area of high labor demand with a living wage. And advanced manufacturing and healthcare are 2 of the top 3 in the greater Worcester area. The greater Worcester area economic blueprint said there are something like 22,000 manufacturing jobs right now that they can't fill in this area. So our industry partners have been eager to help us prepare those graduates. So it's a very exciting time. The 7 schools that got it winnowed down from all the schools that were invited to apply in Part A, and then you had to get re-invited to Part B, and then you had to get awarded those designations. And it comes from the Executive Office of Education. So there's a very thorough vetting process. We had to not only submit that, we had to be interviewed, and then it goes on to another set of reviewers. There's 2 separate sets. Someone who reviewed Part A isn't necessarily the ones who reviewed Part B. So it's a very thorough process. And we're very happy, and we think it's going to allow us to provide equitable access, transparent access to all our kids. The last thing that I want to talk about was our Nichols Extension. And I'm very excited about this as well. We have been offering accelerated courses through Nichols, dual enrollment courses, but they've kind of been a la carte courses. They haven't been connected to any program at Nichols. And there also have been, in previous years, we've been using like the Wednesday half days. The kids who were in the Nichols Leadership Academy were ones who took advantage of it. The one blessing of the pandemic was these classes are now online. So we had a lot of kids take advantage of that with Nichols and also with QCC. What we're trying to do now is, to the benefit of both Nichols and ourselves, is connect the courses that are offered to some of their programs, the most popular programs. So we have a lot of kids who are interested in sports management and criminal justice. And those are areas that Nichols is eager to partner with us on. We're trying to think of different ways kids could take courses. One of the things we're thinking about is stacking the micro-credentials so that these, like the courses that they take now, are transferable to any school. So it's not necessarily the most effective recruiting tool for Nichols because they're transferable to any schools. These credentials that we're talking about would be only good for Nichols. And it might be a combination of, if you took 3 business classes at Bartlett High and then did a seminar and a workshop there and maybe a 2-day workshop over the summer, that would count for 1.5 Nichols credits or something like that. We're just trying to formalize some structures so that kids would have an idea of, if I do this, this is what I earn and this is what it's going towards. The other thing, the courses that we have been offering are supplemental. One of the things that we're trying to figure out if it'll work is if a student took a Nichols course in lieu of a Bartlett High course, so that they would get the Bartlett High credits and the Nichols credits at the same time simultaneously. And that might be more attractive to some of our students. So for sports management, for example, could Nichols run that for an entire one of our semesters? And could students who took that take that instead of physical education or health or something like that? We're trying to line things up like that so that more kids will avail themselves of this opportunity, and also so that kids will get on campus and exposed to Nichols. They're trying to do this with a number of other schools north and that, but we are the ones that are most physically close to them and who will have an existing relationship. So the opportunity is there for us to be creative and do this, and they are more than willing. So I'll update you further as we move along. We're meeting probably monthly with this, and as Dr. Gogan alluded to about the opening, there's lots of moving parts and departments and registrars and things like that that have to be ironed out, the credit situation and all that. But I think it's very exciting that someone that we have an existing relationship with recognizes that they want to expand our partnership and open it up to more students. And that concludes my report. Unless anyone has any questions, I would like to briefly make one editorial comment if I could. I reviewed the graduation guidelines that was sent out by the state, and I found it very interesting that they say that even if we're outdoors, graduates must remain 6 feet apart for the graduation ceremony, but it's okay to be 3 feet apart inside a classroom.
Mr. Thomas, I noted that as well.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Oh, yeah, Mrs.
Oh,
Blake.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Thomas, I just have one question regarding the innovative pathways. Great accomplishment, by the way. Thank you for all of your hard work on that. Do you know if those programs will be opened up to just incoming freshmen, or will they be open to upperclassmen as well?
We have to, as a requirement for that, we have to provide, like, I don't want to say like a trapdoor, but a route in for kids who are upperclassmen. Typically, that would have to happen by their junior year because the senior year of the program requires a worksite experience or a capstone experience. A big portion of this will also be the Project Lead the Way engineering courses, and those courses are going to be open to everybody. So as I mentioned before, if you string those 3 courses together, you get an engineering certificate, and that leads to greater opportunities at some of our local technical colleges as well. So we obviously we're hoping for oversubscription to those courses and to the pathways, but we have to see how it goes.
No, great. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas, I was just going to thank you for your update. You know, it was all good news from the Pbis, which is really a great way to encourage students to mind some of these rules that they probably haven't had in the front of mind for a very long time, on through the innovation pathways and the Nichols. So thank you and the team for all the work that you've done to make all of these things a reality. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, the next item on the agenda is the student representative update. Good evening, Vivian.
Good evening. So for athletics, volleyball beat Southbridge on March 10th and 12th, and they unfortunately lost to Grafton on March 17th and 18th. And the volleyball team will be traveling to Oxford today and then hosting Oxford on Thursday, March 25th. And football opened their season with a 34-14 win against Worcester North on March 20th. And football is going to be playing a home opener on Friday at 5 p.m. at the Memorial Field versus Abbey Kelly. And baseball, softball, and tennis are going to be starting up on April 26th, and signups for those were sent out in an email. Class of 2021 held voting for class yearbook dedications, and seniors are asked to submit their baby photos to the yearbook by April 2nd. Grades 9 and 10 are accepting self-nominations for class officer positions, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and then also student council members. And grade 11 is accepting self-nominations for secretary, treasurer, and student council member. And those self-nominations need to be submitted by March 26th at 12 p.m. And students have been taking SOS signs of suicide training during their math periods on March 22nd and March 23rd. And that's been really good. And students have been learning a lot from that. DECA has been meeting to work on senior sweatshirt designs, and they're going to be getting to selling those soon. And allowing virtual clubs has really helped improve students' overall spirit and giving them something to look forward to. So I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone responsible for bringing those back. And unless there are questions, that's going to conclude our work tonight.
Thank you, Viv. Are there any questions or comments for Vivian? Well, your report is much appreciated. You always have a good balance of sports and academics and other activities. So appreciate you sharing what's going on. The next item on the agenda under new business is the acceptance. Oh, excuse me. The next item on the agenda is under old business, and it's an update on the FY22 budget. Mrs. Perangeli?
Thank you. Actually, there's not much to report here. We're kind of in a hold'em pattern as we work through and wait for the state to come out with some updated numbers. Dr. Gogan and I have been working with the town finance team, and you know, we're just kind of being patient and working through. We know it's a living, breathing document, and we have right up until town meeting before, as we can, you know, continue to make changes and adjustments to the budget. So there has been no changes since our last meeting. So we will be potentially going to Finance Committee in the beginning of April. We haven't confirmed that date with them yet, but in our talks, there would be some attendance there that they would like to talk about our budget and what we're doing through the school system. And then down the road, we'll be looking at a tri-meeting with all teams.
We have the public hearing at April 13th coming up for the school committee, just as a reminder.
Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Thank you. Thanks for the update and for the reminder. The next item on the agenda under new business is the acceptance of food donation from It Starts at Home.
The It Starts at Home organization is a wonderful organization, as you know. Recently, they donated 7 boxes of food supplies to our school district. They were distributed to middle school and high school counselors and sent home to families in need. We are also in the process of working with them. Their donors will be donating over 20 or 25 pairs of sneakers to students in need. And they recently dropped off a box of toys, or 2 boxes or 3 boxes of toys. Those are going to the elementary school for their counselors to distribute. It was a very, very large, comfy, big giraffe stuffed animal that helped me get through a couple of days sitting on my lap. But I did give it back so the students can have it. We want to thank them for their generosity and continued support for our kids.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gogan. And thank you to It Starts at Home for their continued generosity for our students. Do we have a motion to accept the food donation?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of 100 PPP masks from the United Way.
The United Way dropped off 100 masks to Mrs. Perangeli. These masks are pretty special. They will be distributed at the schools. They all have different designs on them. Mrs. Perangeli, do you want to give some more detail on those special masks? They're very cute.
Sure. I should have grabbed a couple out of the bag while we were here. Some of them are sports themes. They're different ages for across the district. So not just elementary, they're for high school. They have Boston Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots, and then they have cute little ones for the kids at the elementary schools and middle schools. We thank them for their donation. I want to thank, it was a pleasure speaking with Mary O'Coin from the United Way, getting to meet her, and she is looking to be a district partner for us. So she's like, if there's anything you can think of down the road that we can support you in, don't hesitate to call. So thank them for their donation very much.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the donation of masks from the United Way?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of 816 pies from Table Talk Pies for Pie Day.
In Webster, kindness matters. I had to say that. We are very lucky and grateful to have received 800 Table Talk pies for Pie Day. They were distributed across the district and the Webster Middle School in particular to the students and staff.
That's cute and very fun. Are there any questions or comments about this donation? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the donation of the Table Talk pies.
Moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the DESE waiver to keep grade 5 with all other Webster Middle School grades for the return to in-person learning. Dr. Gogan?
Thank you. The way that the commissioner rolled out his changes, he included grade 5 with the shift within elementary school and required superintendents to apply for a waiver if grade 5 was not included in their elementary school, which ours is not. The Department of Education allowed for superintendents to immediately process those waivers. This is an official support of that waiver, which has been accepted by the commissioner to keep grade 5 shifting with the middle school. So I'm seeking the school committee's approval on that waiver. that has already been approved.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the waiver for keeping grade 5 with all of the other Webster Middle School grades for the return to in-person learning.
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Millet,
yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
and Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the special education student transportation contract. Mrs. Perangeli?
Thank you. In your packet, you should have a document containing the next 3 years for special ed transportation. Special ed is a little different than regular ed. With regular ed transportation, you're allowed to do 3 years in the 2 option years, which you approved at the last meeting. With special education, you don't have to go out to bid, and that requirement is waived. So you can negotiate more freely with companies. As you can see, there's many different routes that they go on a daily basis. So what we've done is we've taken the core routes that AA provides to us, and we locked in a rate for the next 3 years. It's a 2% increase, which is really good, especially at this time with all the changes and the difficult time they have finding drivers and the cleaning of the vehicles with COVID. There has been quite a shortage of drivers and vans and vehicles going to and from. And AA has been consistent with their service. So we are happy about that. So I am looking for the committee's approval to authorize the next 3-year contract for AA for special education.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the special education student transportation contract as presented.
Moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of 2 job descriptions: the interim co-director of curriculum and instruction for adult education, and the interim co-director of operations and IET project coordinator, also for adult education. Dr. Gogan?
Thank you. At the last meeting, you approved a new job description for the director of adult education. Basically, the job description that you previously have approved has been split into 2. Thus, the separation of the curriculum and instruction side of the house and operations and IET. I'm seeking approval so there's clarity on the interim roles for the 2 new directors.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee about these 2 positions or the descriptions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the 2 job descriptions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Lori, would you poll the committee, please?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of special town warrant article. Mrs. Perangeli?
Thank you. I'm seeking the committee's approval to submit a special town meeting article. The town has posted articles need to be submitted by April 13th when it goes to selectmen, and I believe our meeting is not until after that date. We're still working through, actually they need to be submitted by April 12th, and our meeting is the 13th. I've been working with the town to see if there's any available funds to pave the middle school parking lot, which has been showing some deterioration, and we'd like to get that taken care of. We are working with Kenny Pizzetti to get narrowed down that pricing. As you know, the town has been very generous in the past where basically we pay for supplies and they do all the paving and all the labors for free. So it's a good deal. We might not need all 50,000, and I'm working with the town to see what's available in cash and come up with a price.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli.
Thank
Are there any questions or comments about this from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the special town warrant article.
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Millet,
yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. And the next item on the agenda is the review, transfer, signing of warrants, bills, payroll, and vouchers. I see a warrant in our packet. Anyone have any questions about that? Mrs. Perangeli, you would like your normal troop this week, I'm sure.
Sure. If Miss Millett already came in and signed the warrant, but I need Miss Blythe for the school building warrant, and Miss Siddiqui, I'll need you to sign the special town meeting warrant article.
Okay, no
I'll be in
problem.
this week.
Thank you.
Same here. Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Member Millet,
Yes.
Member Naprata,
Yes.
Member Blythe,
Yes.
Chair Siddiqui.
Yes, the motion passes. Meeting adjourned. Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Night, thank you.